Ready?
She's so light.
Bottoms up for this one. Little Red is upside down for the final fairing check and seam gluing. Patches of thickened epoxy will hold the shape of the hull while Garrett removes the copper wires. Then full fillets on the outside and preparations to fiberglass. We'll be encapsulating our little boat, making her as tough as the rest of the crew.
So you can see here where I started to do the spot gluing, and it's the same concept as like tack welding something together. You just put little spots of glue, so that way we can take all of these copper ties out, because these are all just temporary to hold it together, and it'll still hold its shape. And then once all the ties are gone, then I can go along and put full beads of epoxy in on all the seams, and that will permanently glue the hull together. But you don't really want to do the full seams before you take these out, because then it just is more of a hassle to pull them out. You can still pull the copper out even if it's embedded in epoxy, but you just have to heat it up. But it would take a lot longer if you're sitting there with a torch or a heat gun on every single one.
The mortise and tenon joints for the frames also get filled at this stage. The hull doesn't need to be perfect at this point, but every detail refined now will save time later. We have decided to paint, which also gives us more leniency.
Make sure I have enough bow, so I'll just bend.
But this doesn't mean we'll sacrifice quality.
Much easier using the caulking gun on these little spot welds.
Yeah. Makes it so much more relaxed, because you don't have to mix a certain amount and then get it all in before that batch kicks, because the only thing you really have to worry about is leaving it like in the nozzle too long. But I mean, the working time is really good on it, so it's not an issue. But you just dispense whatever you need and makes it very easy.
This is our first time using tube epoxy, and Thixo from Total Boat has kept this process enjoyable. No measuring, no mixing, and so far, plenty of time to get carried away spot gluing. Continuing on after letting the epoxy cure, the hundreds of stitches are removed, and no, we didn't count them. The ones embedded in epoxy at the frames took an extra step to pull out.
These ones are being stubborn. These are all the ones that are in the frames, so they're all kind of embedded in epoxy. So I gotta heat them all up to get them out. There it
Another benefit of using copper is even if he can't remove it, he can trim and sand it flush, and it will become part of the ship with no concern. A majority of the wire was fairly effortless. The pace of this build is leisurely, really more of a therapeutic project, an excuse to build again and spend some time on land. Straight into sealing the exterior, the largest seam is where the planking switches from being butted to lap strake. This is also about where the waterline is. The stem gets a little extra attention here, filling the wedge-shaped gap created by the planking coming together.
So in the book they have you fiberglassing the bottom up to the first lap strike plank, or?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna glass the whole thing.
Do you think it'll be tricky getting around the lap strike planks, or we'll just take like a really saturated cloth?
It'll take a little finesse, but you know, it's also why I did such a fat fillet. Ain't my first rodeo with fiberglass. Hey, you know, after this, if we put it in the water, it's not the same.
What do you think? We get a week out of it without any fiberglass?
Yeah, if we're lucky.
But we won't let her sink. If it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing.
Final seam on the starboard side.
Can I help you?
So today you're moving to the shade.
Yes.
Do you want to welcome everybody to the new location?
The lovely trees, shade. We just got back from a couple days off. We went to visit some friends, so kind of figuring out where I left off. But I think today is mainly going to be just fairing the hull. So I'm just going to be sanding, lots of sanding, lots of just kind of, you know, checking for fairness, highs and lows. And then once I get that done, which hopefully won't take too long. The hull's pretty nice already. There's just a few high spots and stuff that you got to take down, and then of course just smooth everything up. But once that's done, then I'm gonna fiberglass the hull on the outside, and then flip it over and start fiberglassing, fairing and fiberglassing the inside, and then onto the finishing bits.
Under the oleander today.
I finished most of the sanding. It's the majority of it. There's just a little bit of finish touch-up stuff to do, but I just need to fill a little tiny bit here up in the bow just to fair things up a little bit. So just mix up some the Total Fair, and I'm gonna smear it on here and let it kick overnight, and then tomorrow I can come get this bow section just nice and smooth. Mixed up more than I needed, but I'll go ahead and just lay it on here. I didn't need this much on the bow, but this stuff's really easy to sand, which is a nice thing. Okay, at this point I'm just making more work for myself, so I'm gonna let that kick up overnight, and then I should be able to finish all the sanding and fairing tomorrow.
That was a great drip of something.
Yeah. Well, it's nice when I'm working out here. I can just run the smoker all day.
Time has come. Tell your friend to be quiet up there.
Oh, quiet down, Scrubs.
Scrub lives in the oleander and has taken a liking to Garrett.
Oh, it looks so nice and rounded back here. Yeah, that looks beautiful.
Just kind of trying to figure out how I want to lay the glass out, because I'm going to glass the entire hull just because I'm excessive like that. The plans only call to glass it, I think, up to this first lap in just one layer, and then on the inside up, I think maybe a little bit higher, but 2 layers on the inside. But you know me, I want it to be super strong and super durable. It's going to be it's going to be a cruising dinghy, so it's got to deal with a lot of abuse. Lay the first one down with the tape line on this seam. Let that cut it, fair it, then do layer on the sides from this seam up, so it'll overlap a little bit, but I'll put a tape line on the seam, so it'll be nice and clean. And then I'll come back after that, and I'll lay one more on top.
So this first one, you're gonna end it here,
right on the inside of that seam, yeah.
And this is your biggest fillet on the lap strake planking, because it's the first one.
Yeah, but I rounded everything over pretty good since I knew I was going to be glassing the whole thing, so it should be fine.
Yeah, it looks nice.
I'm going to put this forward sawhorse just right on the tip of the bow, just so if since the ground is uneven, you know, I don't want to twist the hull. I don't want to twist the hull while I lay the glass up and then like fiberglass that twist into the hull. So if I put it right on the point, then it shouldn't introduce any twist into the hull.
Laying the tape down will prevent the fiberglass from sticking past where we want our seam to be. Later, Garrett can simply trim the overhang with a razor blade.
I don't have to be super persnickety with this,
But you will anyway.
how do you know?
You're doing it already.
We'll fiberglass the transom too. It'll just be last. A rough trim on the stem because it'll get its own strip of cloth later on, but we're ready to glass our first sheet.
Ready to glass? Four, 3, 2, 1, 0. That was only an hour.
Nice.
Pretty good. First layer of glass.
Up next, trimming, sanding, and more fiberglass. Then right side up once again to do the same. Thanks for watching.